So we're a couple of days into tariffs, and we've seen what's going on with the market. It hasn't been great, for sure, but there's lots of opportunity in the market if you have common sense right now. But one of the things that the media is now starting to pick up on is this might actually work out. We're going to talk about some of the countries that have already come forward boxing China out, and China has made some very subtle, veiled threats about this hemisphere, and specifically the Panama Canal. We're going to talk all about it and how that's a lose for them. Roll the intro. So welcome on back to TK's Garage. And yes, I know we're not talking as much about, but this does relate to automotive because we are talking about import and trade. But China is looking like they're going to be the odd man out. And a lot of the allies and a lot of the stuff that I was reading and seeing in the media, oh, the EU, the UK is going to turn their backs on America and all of this stuff is going to happen. That's not happening, folks. It's not. We'll roll the clip here in a minute with the, you know what? I'll roll it right now. It's got the UK Prime Minister who made a statement and did an address, and the tariffs are popular. And I mean, that wouldn't surprise me knowing what's going on in the UK, especially after they're going through Brexit. I have good people that I consider family that live over in the UK. And, you know, I know that this is a trying time to say the least, but yeah, let me roll that clip.
Today, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer expected to announce Trump's tariffs are popular in an address. Quote, his office telling the Sunday Times, Trump has done something that we don't agree with, but there's a reason why people are behind him on this. The world has changed. Globalization is over, and we are now in a new era. Rebecca, how profound a statement is that, specifically that takeaway that globalization is over?
Well, I think it depends on what Starmer does next. Okay, so it's one thing to say, I understand why this is happening, why there's this populism spreading across the world. And it's two big issues. It's jobs for those countries, for those individual citizens of those countries, and they want healthy and safe streets, and they want migration under control. And so let's see what Starmer does. Let's see what the Labour Party does now on restricting uncontrolled migration, on prioritizing the British people, and on reindustrialization, on getting manufacturing back in the UK. We talk about how important Israel and the United States is for dealing with the Middle East. The United States and the UK, it's got to be strong so that we can take on the Russia threat in Europe. We want the Europeans to increasingly do more. The UK's got to take a lead on that so that the United States can focus on China. So let's see what Starmer does. Rather than just talk about these things, let's see kind of the action that he puts into place.
But such a key point you mentioned on migration, because yes, when you hear globalization, the first thought is economic. But the migration piece of this and what has happened over the course of the last couple of decades and what Europe has become is such an important warning, I think, to the rest of the world. Getting back to the money, though, here's what Trump said about talking to European nations on trade deals. Listen.
Europe has been very, very bad to us. Europe has taken our leaders for a ride. They don't take our cars. They don't take our food products. They don't take anything. Europe's treated us very badly. We put a big tariff on Europe. They are coming to the table. They want to talk, but there's no talk unless they pay us a lot of money on a yearly basis.
So what do you think, Rebecca? Does Trump ultimately win this battle and get Europe to reverse those policies that have hurt America?
Well, let's see what happens. I think this is where the president is looking at deficits and surpluses and understanding those in his mind as ripping off the American people. I don't think he's right about that. I do think that the tariffs are a problem, and I'd like to see tariffs come down. And I'd like to see the Europeans lean into the relationship with the United States, not pull back. Already we're going to see the UK kind of look to other markets, look to India, look to other places, because they're going to protect their own manufacturing as well, as President Trump is trying to do that for the American people.
So as you can see in that clip, listen, the prime minister over there in the UK is like, look, what are we going to say? These tariffs are popular, even with our own people. Make that make sense. But Trump's losing here, right? And I love this, too, because I've been seeing this on the GK's a MAGA guy. Absolutely not. No, I'm just a common sense guy. I've made it very clear multiple times that I'm a libertarian. Do I like what's going on? Yes, I do. I know people are going to bitch because they're going to be like, well, my God, I've lost $15,000 in my 401k. Not if you hold it. You only lose it if you cash it out. Genius. Sit on it. The market will rebound. Same thing. I'm hearing the same things from people now complaining that I heard during COVID. Straight up. So, but let's look at some of the deals that have been proposed already and why it's boxing out China. Vietnam, 0%, meaning they'll open their markets. They'll bring down trade barriers and have a 0% tariff with the United States. Korea, 0%. South Korea, obviously. Taiwan, 0%. And at the time you're watching this video, I guess the Japan delegation probably have already landed by this point. But there is a delegation coming over from Japan to do a deal. And let me tell you right now, if Japan, Vietnam, South Korea, and Taiwan are all at 0% tariffs with the United States, China's in trouble. And they know it. Xi Jinping, whether you follow the politics over there or not, or watch the news, I speak Mandarin, so I actually watch the actual news over there. I use some of the apps. I have a WeChat account, all that good stuff. So I have friends that live over there in the economic zone. So seeing what's going on with Xi Jinping over there after his stroke, them kind of pulling military power from him, I almost feel like he's a paper tiger. And if this doesn't go the right way, or if China doesn't play this the right way, they could move him aside. I think the Politburo moves him to the side, especially after making some of the comments about the Panama Canal. So you'll see in a clip here in a second, I'll run that shows Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, down at the Panama Canal, as we're moving some destroyers and some other equipment down there to make sure that we protect the Panama Canal, because China made some reckless statements, basically saying like, oh, okay, cool, we'll just come down here and, you know, we've invested all this money over there. And Pete Hegseth made it very clear, we built the Panama Canal. You're not coming over here for anything. Now, I already know. I know what the saber rattlers are going to be in my comments. Oh, we're going to end up going to war with them over. No. I don't know if you know this or not, but China owns a lot of our debt. China goes to war with us. At that point, it's like, get it in blood, bro. You ain't getting nothing. We ain't paying you shit. Deficit? Ha! We're good. Chalk that up. Y'all can hold that. Rub it on your chest. So China ain't going to do nothing. It's too much money at stake. Period. End of story. But without further ado, let me roll this other clip so you can see exactly what I'm talking about.
Abrego, for being here today and for a very warm welcome. Admiral Halsey, Commander Southcom, thank you for your great work, your partnership. Phenomenal job, you and all the troops down here and throughout the hemisphere. And Father, thank you for the blessing of this pier. What a reminder that Almighty God is truly the commander of all affairs, including today and all the important work we're undertaking. It is great to be here at Vasco Núñez de Balboa Naval Base. Our shared roots here run deep. Once known as Rodman Naval Station, this place has long played a vital role in protecting the canal. The security of the Panama Canal remains a key national interest of both the United States and Panama. In 1914, after the first ship sailed through the canal, the U.S. Secretary of War wrote, "The dream of the centuries has become a reality." This dream, once realized, drove prosperity in our hemisphere. And to preserve this dream for centuries to come, we must never lose sight of the canal's security. And today, the Panama Canal faces ongoing threats. The United States of America will not allow communist China or any other country to threaten the canal's operation or integrity. To this end, the United States and Panama have done more in recent weeks to strengthen our defense and security cooperation than we have in decades. That includes our meeting today and announcements to come. As we speak, U.S.-based military units are involved in joint exercises, planning, and other forms of cooperation with our Panamanian partners on both the Atlantic and Pacific sides of the canal. And together, we will take bold first steps to revive our defense and security ties between our countries.
So you have that little dandy clip right there of Pete Hegseth, basically saying China's not coming, you're not coming over here doing nothing, period. It'll be very similar to what happened in the Philippines when we reopened Subic Bay. We'll just reopen another naval station down there, or reopen our old naval base down there, and China will have no wins. There is no, outside of a military action, and that's a lose for them. Because that means we're just going to say, F you, we're not going to pay you the debt. I don't see a win for them. They have to make a deal. They don't have it like they, as the president would say, they don't have the cards. But now that things are getting realigned trade-wise, I saw a thing today on Jesse Waters talking about the big sucking sound. And no, we're not talking about something you'd see on an OF page. I'm talking about what Ross Perot talked about way back in 1992, how NAFTA would be a disaster. And I'm willing to bet you can talk to any one of the auto workers in Detroit or any UAW member, and they will tell you that, yes, NAFTA was a disaster for the United States auto industry. And we're going to get into that right now.
Remember that giant sucking sound?
Pause.
We have got to stop sending jobs overseas. To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element in making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south.
They called Ross Perot crazy, but after 30 years, they call him right. Bubba was wrong. He signed NAFTA, and the giant sucking sound came from the South. And then he signed the China deal, and the giant sucking sound came from the East. There were a lot of sucking sounds in the 90s, and Chuck was fed up.
And every single person should email Schumer this clip of him saying this right here, because this is the most hypocritical BS of all of these people that have been in office all of this time. Ugh.
We are fed up, Mr. President. The Chinese should play by the rules once and for all. But how can we stand by as millions of American workers lose their jobs, as thousands of American companies can't compete fairly?
No, Chuck, you don't say.
No one seeks political advantage. What we seek, rather, is fairness. Fairness in trade.
The party that represented workers, the Democrats, immediately recognized the giant sucking sound was bad for workers, but good for donors. Wall Street got rich off the giant sucking sound, and so did Pelosi, Hillary, Kerry, Gore, all of them.
There's probably a lot of other websites on the internet that got rich off the sucking sound too. Just to be clear, I want to make sure the record's correct.
So they talked about it to win votes, but didn't do anything about it, and turned China into a monster, their monster.
I worked at a factory, went to factory in 1989. We made radial passenger tires for cars. I worked there with my dad, 8 of my uncles, and 12 of my cousins. I was a union steward there. That plant now sits in China because you can import small radial passenger tires pretty cheap because of our failed trade policy in this Democrats' opinion.
Detroit, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, St. Louis, Milwaukee. I could go on and on. They traded jobs and honor for cheap phones and TV screens. Trump's declaring an end to the giant sucking sound and decided to slay the monster.
Countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break. And America will not break under his leadership. When America is punched, he punches back harder. That's why there will be 104% tariffs going into effect on China tonight at midnight.
So when the clock strikes midnight tonight, the battle begins. China will be hit with triple-digit tariffs. The export menace should have never retaliated. Trump believes he has the cards and likes his chances.
Trump has maximum negotiating leverage right here, right now. And I think it would be a mistake for anyone to think otherwise. I think it was a big mistake, this Chinese escalation. If you look at the history of the trade negotiations, we are the deficit country. So what do we lose by the Chinese raising tariffs on us? We export 1/5 to them of what they export to us. So that is a losing hand for them.
China had a plan. Dump cheap goods into the rest of the world, use the money to build their military, and pass the U.S. as the world's top superpower. But if China can't dump cheap goods here, and we're the world's biggest market, they have nowhere else to sell. They can't sell to Europe. They don't have the consumer power. And they can't sell to themselves because their birth rate's cratered. And once China can't sell, they have to lay off their workers. And the communists don't want a billion angry unemployed Chinese. That's how regimes get toppled. But we have to let Xi Jinping lose face gracefully. A quick, violent death makes us collateral damage. So we have to lower the Chinese casket into the ground diplomatically. While Trump's taxing Chinese products, he's kicking them out of the hemisphere. Pistol Pete's down at the Panama Canal today, flexing the Monroe Doctrine.
And we showed you that earlier in the video, the full unedited cut, not just the soundbite. So
China bribed the Bidens, but boy, did they pick the wrong horse. Trump knocked the big guy out, and now he's wrestling their precious TikTok away. And Beijing's on its heels. Breaking China also guts Russia. The Chinese can't fill Putin's shaky economy. So now that Trump's engineered oil down to $60 a barrel, Putin's war machine's going to take a hit. Russia's influence in the Mideast is weaker than ever. Their proxy in Syria got picked off, and their other proxy, Iran, as we speak, is surrounded by 2 U.S. aircraft carriers, the USS Truman and the Vincent. Oh, and we have B-2 bombers waiting at Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, while Trump's chief negotiator, Steve Witkoff, starts bargaining with the mullahs. Now, if they knock off their nuke program, we can bring Iranian oil back online and drive the energy prices down even lower. That'll hurt Putin, bring rates down, and take the edge off any inflation that the trade war triggers. And Europe knows where its bread's buttered. They can't afford their socialist welfare states without the American security blanket. And we're not going to give them that little blanket if they don't drop their tariffs. And they just said they're willing to go down to 0 tariffs. And if they kill their VAT tax and sprinkle in Greenland, we could have a deal. America dominating the Arctic is necessary for international security. And world peace costs money, which is why we need Ukrainian minerals. Who else does the world want on top? Us or China? Trump's logic is that China doesn't have the cards, and they're bluffing. China wants to make a deal badly, but they don't know how to get it started. We're waiting for their call. It will happen. And China can't afford to play the long game here because the rest of Asia is racing to negotiate with us. The Chi-Coms are isolated, and they know it.
President Trump made it very clear that the era of American economic surrender is over. President Trump is no longer going to allow American workers and companies to be ripped off at the hands of foolish trade practices that shipped away millions of high-paying jobs and hollowed out communities across the country.
Trump could go to China like Nixon did and rewire the world all over again. Give Xi a soft landing, let him put out domestic propaganda like he won. Who cares? Now, I don't know if any of this is going to happen or how it's going to end or when it's going to end. But I know every phone at the White House is ringing.
We're managing a massive number of requests for negotiations. It's actually logistically quite challenging just to go through them. It's something that I've been spending a lot of the time this morning doing because at NSC and NEC, what we have to do is prioritize the meetings for the president. And there are so many to go through that, we're actually getting ready to present a plan for him on, who and when.
The White House is having to put world leaders on hold. Excuse me, Prime Minister, I have the Chancellor on the other line. What's a good time to call you back? Hungary is actually going around the EU's back and trying to cut a one-on-one deal with us. I didn't even know you were allowed to do that. Ursula is going to be fuming. The Philippines, Cambodia, Thailand, they're all ready to slash tariffs. But Trump's not just handing out deals willy-nilly.
We're taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well. And we're doing very well in making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here.
Trump says his call with South Korea went great today. Aside from dropping tariffs, Seoul is ready to invest here and buy American. American companies are investing here, too.
Ford is America's #1 auto manufacturer, and we assemble more U.S. vehicles and we employ more U.S. hourly auto workers than any other OEM. And we want to do more, not less, here in the U.S. 80% of what we sell in the U.S. is assembled right here in the United States. And it would be helpful to have certain parts here in the U.S., and the White House gets that.
If Trump can pull this off, and we hope he does, he'll go down as one of the greatest presidents in history. Maybe it's because he got shot. Maybe it's because he nearly went to prison. Or maybe it's his age, or maybe taking 4 years off and coming back on the job. You got a fresh head.
Whatever it is that the president got, I think it's working. Japan's here now. They're officially on the ground. And, they did do the phone call with South Korea, but as you heard, they're also flying in at some point today. I can tell you right now that if they come out with an announcement, everybody's worried about the market right now, right? They come out with an announcement tomorrow that they have a deal with Japan and South Korea, China will be blowing up the phone. And when that happens, you'll see that market that's been doing this go way up. Way up. Mark my words. The one thing I did notice there is they did talk about, Ford talking about, they're excited about building more stuff here in America. And I know Stellantis is technically not an American company, so Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram are no longer American. But can we get like Tim Kuniskis or friggin' Antonio Filosa or somebody to come out and make a statement like Ford has multiple times on the news that they're excited about building stuff in America? Because we're not seeing that. And that's part of the problem with Stellantis and their stock too, because they can't. You probably saw the video I already published on that. If you're interested in that or what's going on with Stellantis and brands that they're putting up for sale, I've already published a video on that. You should go check it out. But I think we're going to see some massive wins here coming very soon. I don't think it's going to take a lot of time. I don't think it's going to drag on for months. I think there's going to be some countries that aren't going to get done till May or June, maybe. But I can tell you this, China better get on the ball. Because, as they said, we import 1/5 of what they export to us here. It hurts them every single day that those shipping containers don't come into the United States. They won't be able to build those 6th gen fighters. They won't be able to afford that military because they won't have the money. And all those electric car companies that are subsidized by the Chinese government over there right now, BYD, Chery, Geely, etc. Yeah, they also get in trouble. That's why I think you're seeing some of the moves to try to get into this market. And I've done a video on that too. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Give the video a big thumbs up if you like what I do. The market right now, futures are looking about 800 points down when the market opens. It's currently 2:06 a.m. Pacific time, so about 5 o'clock in the morning East Coast time. So we'll see what happens. I'll probably publish an update at some point later today. We have a big slate of videos today. It's a lot of news. But anyways, click that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell so you don't miss videos, because we do several a day, as you obviously know. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. Stay petty, my friends.
Whoopee!